Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Cookiecast. Today on Cookiecast, it's the Darkest Timeline podcast, so you've got me for the day. Usual drill, and you know what that is by now, although if you're a new listener, well, go back and listen to some of the other ones. So there. If you're not checking us out on YouTube, please do. There's always a video. It might not be video flavoured, it might be pictures, but the pictures are interesting. They are interesting. Somebody thinks so anyway. So yeah, here we go. This is Cookiecast, the Darkest Timeline podcast. So I've been sitting here for like 5 minutes waiting for the laptop to make the noise that it is almost definitely going to make now that I've pressed record and set things moving. But it hasn't made it. So prepare yourselves for the noise. If I told you that I wasn't sick right now, would you believe me? No, you wouldn't. And you'd be right not to, because that would be a dirty, filthy lie. I'm not going to dwell on it. All I will say is I am still sick. This is not additional sick. I am still sick. I vaguely caught an advert for something that said it was it looked like a medicine type thing, but it said that its sole job was to boost immunity, and I was like, I'll make a mental note of that. I'll come back and look it up. I don't really want to go down the route of taking a medicine, like a daily sort of thing or frequently, because I mean that's just expense. I have been doing a lot of thinking around sleep and whether I should make moves to increase the amount of sleep I get. It's just, I imagine most people can understand, if you're working X number of days a week, if you've got kids, if you've got additional commitments, gym or, whatever, I'm just talking personally, the time you have to do the things that you want to do, the things that keep you grounded, relax you, all that sort of stuff, it just gets shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. And I've always worked on the principle that, well, sleep less, do more. Last X amount of time, I've actually started thinking that might not be the answer, but then ultimately all it ever comes down to is you have to cut out the stuff you enjoy doing. Life just ultimately ends up being cutting out things you enjoy to be able to do the things you have to do. But then you surely get to a point where isn't it just, so what's the point? Sounds like a fast track to insanity, if you ask me. But anyway. Got real deep right at the beginning there, didn't it? Woof. So I am still sick. I'd like to say I'm recovering. I don't think that's true. What I can say is I'm not as sick as other people. I'm glad that I didn't. There seems to be like this. It's like a cold viral thing. And it seems to have different elements, and everybody seems to have a different bit of it. I'm certainly glad I got the bit I got rather than some of the other bits, because wow. So there's that. But I am well enough to do a podcast, go to work, etc. Go to the gym, things like that. So, right, let's jump into the list. Bit of a mixed bag this week. I will tell you now, and I've done a lot of podcast coding over the last few days, and the realisation that I don't think I've watched a film since New Year's. It's been, TV programs and like documentary stuff. I'm trying to think, what was I watching? Anyway, now is not the time for sitting here in silence trying to work out what I was doing at a different time. Yeah. So, yeah, I did a lot of podcast coding, and I haven't watched any films, and I still haven't watched any films. A film turned up in the post today. I mean, I haven't watched that. That's not like... and I ordered a movie, which Amazon were like, yeah, we'll sort that out for you. Don't you worry, pal. We will get it. We will ship it to you the moment it's released. And then the day of its release, or the day before, they emailed. They were like, yeah, we're not going to do that. I had lots of things to say about that, mostly F words. So yeah, I haven't watched any films. I'm just letting you know that now. If you are here for movies, you've come to the wrong place. But yeah, I've had a lot of podcasts over the last few days, and it was just me going, I haven't watched any movies. So, this time last week, I had a conversation with you guys, so not a conversation. I was talking last week about something that, I've got to admit, whilst I was talking about it, I was a bit like, I don't know if I want to go down the route of this conversation. I was talking about alpha males in the gym. I felt it was something I'd written down on my list. I think I wrote it down in anger. Because of the situation I'd been presented with. I think it was like the day before. And there was various points when I was talking about it, I was like, I don't know if this really needs discussing. It was an observation. It's something that has been like a thing recently. That's about all I can say. Sometimes I talk about stuff and then I feel bad about it later. Sometimes I talk about stuff and I actually get rid of it. I am the most edited person on the podcast, and I always talk about how I don't edit, but I don't edit other people or censor, but I do edit myself. Not loads, but it has happened in the past. So last time on the podcast, I spoke about alpha males in the gym. I didn't feel great about it by the end, if I'm honest. I haven't coded that podcast. There was an element where I was like, maybe I'll just delete it. I will not be deleting that bit of the podcast, because that bit is needed so I can talk about this bit. I had that conversation with you last week. I finished the podcast. I transferred it from one hard drive to another, from another hard drive to another, to put there for when it was needed to be coded. I will have had some tea. I will have done something, and at some point in the evening I went to the gym. I got to the gym. I went in the gym. I was there a matter of seconds before the realization of, holy shit, was I streaming that podcast live? I mean, I wouldn't know how I would be able to do that, but I could only presume that I must have been streaming it somehow, and all the gym alpha males were listening, and they were like, oh, we'll show you, buddy. We'll all band together and go to the gym at the same time. I've said this before. When you go to the gym at a certain time, which incidentally, I went to the gym at 4:20 this morning. I'll come to that in a bit. That is not my usual time to go to the gym. However, things could change and that might be the time to go. I go to the gym pretty much the same time on the days I go. Sometimes it varies, sometimes it's a little bit earlier, sometimes it's a little bit later. I generally go at the same time. Because of that, I generally see the same people. There are the guys that are there every time I go. There are the guys that are there once/twice a week when I go. There are guys that are there often. I don't know if it's just me, and I don't know if you guys do this, but I give people names in my head. See if you can work out my intricate naming system. Jaguar guy. Do you want to guess what kind of car that person drives? So there's Jaguar guy. There's a guy that I call Simon because he looks like somebody I used to know called Simon. There's Leonard because there's a guy in there that reminds me of Leonard from Big Bang. So I'll get there and I'll be like, oh look, Simon's here. Oh look, Jaguar guy's here. Oh look, Leonard's here. Those are some of the nicer names, because sometimes some people get other names. There's BP guy. BP guy is the guy who turns up, takes over 2/3 of a floor of the gym, and has his phone doing like this thing where it beeps. So it sounds like it's supposed to be some kind of circuit thing, and the beeps are supposed to trigger when you're supposed to work out, and then you're supposed to rest when it's not doing the beep. Obviously, it's loud. And what's that? What's that other thing? Oh yeah, that's right. Super annoying. I can only just get through the fact that going to the gym late at night, I have to listen to the god awful music in there. I put my earphones in, I put a podcast on, but it's never enough. You're telling me that not only can I not use half of the machines or half of the equipment I want to use while you're here, I have to listen to your fucking phone making that fucking noise. I went to the gym last Monday night and it was like I'd sent out the alpha male bat signal. They were all there. Every single one of them that I've ever been in a situation of, you're going down that alpha male in the gym route. They were all there. It was spooky while simultaneously just being like, oh wow, I really didn't need this. Yeah, it's weird how they all combat each other because, like in nature, alpha males just fight for dominance. So that it was partially entertaining. It's just like that. I just want to go. I just want to get a workout done and go home. But yeah, it kind of made me chuckle after everything I went through last week with the alpha male stuff on the podcast and how I felt about it. I was kind of vindicated when I got there, and it was like, all right, we're shipping them in now, are we? Anyway, I thought I'd oh Jesus, phone. It wasn't. Let's put it this way. I wasn't trying to spell tots. All right. Okay. Let's do that then. Right. One of the things, obviously, is that I'm sick. I'm sick all the time. I'd like to say I'm used to it, but I'm sick all the time. I've been sick in some form or another constantly since... What did I work out? It was like the day before New Year's Day. That, at this point in time, is 5, nearly 6 weeks ago. And by the time you hear this, you know how it works. But this point in time, not to date things, although this is going to be very heavily dated podcast. It's like 5, nearly 6 weeks ago. Think about that. It was, stomach flu, cold, stomach bug, cold, this viral, god-awful thing. What? Brain feels a bit squirrely today. Right. Yeah. So, if you've been sick for a while, you tend to find that, like, you have certain times of the day where you feel better and worse. Often it's like you get out of bed, you feel crap, but as the morning goes on and you have a couple of coffees, you feel a little bit better. But then at lunchtime you feel bleh, but then the afternoon's like meh, but then by the end of the day you feel meh, that sort of thing. At some point in time, I'd heard Joe Rogan talking about when people say that they feel sick, so they don't want to have to go to the gym because they feel unwell. And it's kind of around people using excuses not to go to the gym. But he was saying, like, for him, anytime he's felt unwell, if he's gone to the gym or he's done a workout or whatever, he's felt infinitely better. And he's like, people will happily use the excuse not to do something. And he's like, don't get me wrong, there are times when I don't want to work out. But if you just suck it up and do it, you will feel better. I've been sick, but like I say, like functioning sick, like a functioning alcoholic. Functioning sick. So I have been able to go to the gym. And it's probably no surprise, but going to the gym, doing a workout, getting on the treadmill, all of that, walking away from it and feeling better. I know that there are a lot of things that people talk about, like endorphins, adrenaline, and the way those work. People have criticised me for going to the gym late at night because, how are you supposed to sleep with all the adrenaline and the endorphins running around your body? There are times when I do struggle. I don't think that my body works quite, it's not affected. Like if I have a cup of coffee, I could have a cup of coffee and go to bed. Those sorts of things. But I can genuinely say, feeling the way I did and going to the gym, it was nice that I could walk away from the gym and feel better. Not only for having gone to the gym, but feel better. The sickness felt a little less. Obviously, you come home, you go to bed, you get on the next day and you feel crap. So it doesn't last overly long, but I can confirm that the prediction that if you go and work out, you will feel better is true. So yeah, going to the gym helps. I know the motivation isn't always strong at a point when you feel unwell. Speaking of Joe Rogan, I ended up seeing a clip of a Joe Rogan podcast that had Travis Barker on. For those of you that don't know, Travis Barker is the drummer for Blink-182, widely regarded as one of the best drummers of our time. Joe Rogan made a comment about how he's able to do the drumming that he does, because it's insane. He actually spoke about how essentially he trains his body to be able to drum. And, you know, most people will be like, well, yeah, you know, you got to practice the drums. No, he does like physical training. He talked about how he does a lot of battle ropes to be able, before he goes on tour. So I'd seen a clip, and the reason I was watching it was it was talking about tattoos. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it was tattoos. You know, end of the day, that's going to suck me in quite nicely. And he was sitting there with a beanie on, and there's a point where they were talking about tattoos, and now he's like run out of space. He was saying that he's tattooing over old tattoos now. And they got talking about his head. Joe Rogan was like, take the hat off, let me see. And he's, you know, his entire head's tattooed. He's got a tattoo under his left eye. He is covered. But in this clip I was watching, he was talking about tattoos, and then Joe Rogan's like, "Oh, did you lose any tattoos in your accident?" He's like, "Oh yeah, you know, because I was on fire, I lost all the tattoos on my legs." And I was like, "What?" So I did a bit further digging to try and find another clip to see what this was about. And it was him talking, and I was just, my brain couldn't get around what I was hearing. He was talking about being in a plane crash and being on fire and all of this, and I was like, what the hell is this? So I went and found the podcast that they'd done together, downloaded the podcast, and then I think it was like the next day I ended up listening to it. Holy shitballs. Partway through listening to it, and obviously it gets to the point where he is talking about the fact that he was in a plane crash. There was 6 people on the plane, 2 pilots, 2 of his friends, him and another guy. The plane crashes and moments later explodes, and of the 6 people on the plane, 4 of them died. Both pilots and 2 of his friends died. Him and another guy managed to get out of the plane before it blew up. And I'm like, what am I hearing right now? Now, some of you might be thinking, how did you not know this? Some of you might be thinking, you know, you didn't know. I didn't know this. You know, I certainly felt like I should have done, but I didn't know this. So I Googled it, and as with absolutely everything in this world, there was a Wikipedia page, which I read the entire thing. It was amazing how they managed to, and I know how this was, they managed to blame a woman for the plane crash without using those words. They inform you at the start of the article that the pilot was a female. At the end of the article, they then go on to say that the crash was the pilot's fault because the pilot was inexperienced, shouldn't have been flying the plane, and didn't know enough about the maintenance of the plane to know that the plane was poorly maintained. I was like, put the 2 things together. Yeah. I'm guessing the article was probably written by a man. But I read all the stuff about it, and in the process of taking off, one of the tyres blew. So, and this was the thing, it was a plane crash, but the plane hadn't actually technically taken off. So it goes off the end of the runway. There's a road. It goes up. It comes down. The landing gear at this point is then, destroyed, and the plane just goes up and down, up and down, up and down, comes to a stop next to a road. They try and get out of the plane. Travis Barker opens the emergency exit, jumps out of the plane into the engine, is promptly covered in jet fuel and on fire. Somebody from the road shouts, "Stop, drop and roll," which he did. And the other surviving person from the plane ends up trying to put his feet out because his feet are still on fire. Ultimately, he nearly lost a foot, but he didn't. Thinking about what he does for a living, being a drummer, probably going to need your feet. He had 65% third-degree burns over his entire body and spent months in hospital. And for the squeamish, jump ahead 10 seconds now. Had every other day had his body and his burns scrubbed with a metal brush to get rid of the infection. Anybody that jumped forward, you should be good now. Absolutely mind-blowing. I don't know. Was it the initial thing that I'm like, how did I not know this? I can't say I'm a huge Blink-182 fan, but I am aware of their existence. I can't say I'm a huge Travis Barker fan, but I am aware of his existence. I know who he is. I know what he does. How did I not know about the freaking plane crash that he survived? And he looks well. He looks fine. He's covered in tattoos. But well-rounded individual. Will not fly anymore. Unsurprising. But wow. Those things where you think, fucking hell, you survived a plane crash. That's bonkers. If you are a Blink-182 fan, if you are a Travis Barker fan, if you have any remote interest in finding out how somebody survives a freaking plane crash, so Joe Rogan podcast about it. There is an article on the internet about it. There are multiple news articles, but there is a Wikipedia page. I am aware, obviously, about the whole Wikipedia thing, in the sense that it can be updated by anybody, sort of thing. But it is also generally a source of information if you want to go and get it. I think if you marry it up with the other stuff on the internet, it does show that this was a legit article. If you have any interest in any of that, the podcast is going to be, I'm going to go out on a limb and say less than 3 hours. I know Joe Rogan runs heavy, but I'm going to say it's like 2.5 hours or something. Give it a listen. It's fascinating. Or go onto YouTube and track down the Travis Barker talking about plane crash video clip. It'll be there. Absolute madness. Honestly, fascinating. That morbid curiosity. But, who survives a plane crash? Bonkers. That was that anyway. Yesterday, today's Monday, so yesterday was Sunday, had a wander down to the university to go and watch the two York NFL teams, both university teams. One's York St John's. They are the Jaguars, and the other one is York University. I think they might be the Centurions. Went down to watch them play American football. They were playing each other. It was a big thing, so on and so forth. Big shout out to Chris from Expressions Clothing. If any of you guys need anything vintage, or if you need anything of any type of sport related, get yourselves down to Expressions. Tell Chris that I sent you. Give him a cheeky wink, and I'm sure he'll sort you out for whatever you need. Expressions are sponsoring the Jaguars this season. Apparently they've helped out massively, and the Jaguars appreciate that a lot. So he's been going to the games. Was talking to him about it. I was like, I fancy giving that a go. We missed one a few weeks back. They played in Haxby, and we were going to go. And you know what it's like. Weekends can be super busy. Time runs away. It didn't quite fit in with everything that everyone else needed to do. So ultimately, we didn't get down there. The Sunday, it was down the road. We had no excuses. We set off late. Parking wasn't brilliant. We managed to get parking for an hour. We rocked up at half time. Had a chat with Chris, talking about the teams and stuff, and watched British American football, York teams playing each other. I'm not going to say too much, which might seem strange. The game was a little one-sided. There was obviously some training that needed to be done by one of the teams, and one of the other teams, bearing in mind there's only two teams, the other team, people on the sidelines were being super obnoxious. There was no sort of solidarity. It was massively over the top, very sort of reminiscent of your sort of American university jocks, which I wouldn't have thought that we would have really had over here, but at the same time, they're all at university, so probably shouldn't have been that much of a surprise. We're still in winter. I think they've only got one game of the season left, which would tie in with what yesterday was, which I'll come to. It was, although there were issues, it was really interesting. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was like, I only got parking for an hour, so we sort of had to leave, and it was a muddy field, and you've got a pushchair and all that sort of stuff. So you got to leave we need to be back at the car in 25 minutes. Probably leave now. That sort of thing. But I was like, I'd have definitely stayed. Kind of wish that I'd got there earlier, seen more, all of that sort of stuff. But I would certainly go and watch it again. I'm not going to go to Scotland because that's their next game. I'm not going to go to Scotland for it. But for any home games, I would certainly be interested in going. It was a very enjoyable thing. It was interesting to go and watch, to be that close to a game sort of thing. When me and Rob went to watch Seahawks versus the Raiders, we were in the nosebleeds. So it was like, hey, look, that dot is looking, he's running after that dot. Cool. So to be right there on the sidelines, it was a different experience. Thoroughly enjoyable. If anybody has any interest in, NFL or English NFL or whatever, like I say, they are coming to the end of their season, so it's probably not the time to get in. But they will be starting up next season, I'm sure. So maybe check that out. There's a Facebook page that I'm sure there are ways to locate information about these teams. From British American football, which, there's a statement, isn't there? To actual American football, yesterday, last night, going into this morning, was Super Bowl 53, with the San Francisco 49ers going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. It was a big game. Well, it's a big game anyway. It is the Super Bowl. But it was a big game for the Chiefs, because it was their first opportunity in 50 years to potentially win the Super Bowl. I'm not saying it was any less, it wasn't as big for the 49ers. I'm not going to talk too much about this, because obviously I do an NFL podcast, which I would encourage you to go and listen to. If you only listen to one of our NFL podcasts, maybe this one would be the one. Bearing in mind, if you're listening to this at this point in time, the NFL Super Bowl review podcast will have been up weeks by this point. If you haven't listened to it, I imagine you should go and listen to it. it was enjoyable. The first half kind of flew by. It was sort of score for score sort of thing. The halftime shows get worse every year. I honestly wish that they would not do them. I wish they'd just show us a clip reel of the season. I'd rather watch that than watch the awful people they roll out once a year to lip sync to terrible music. How about we just don't bother? Third quarter dragged a bit. It was feeling very much like the team I wanted to win were not going to win, which has been the case for many years of watching the Super Bowl. It's a bit soul destroying. We had people around, everybody brought food, everybody made food, we made food, made some amazing food. It is one thing that for me goes hand in hand, like really nice food, American style food, chili dogs, nachos, that sort of stuff. So everybody made stuff, people made desserts and brought those. So we had a lot of people around. As it was, people seemed to be sort of flagging third quarter. Third quarter was where it really took a bit of a turn. If I'm honest, I felt like I couldn't watch it. It was like, do I really need to sit through another Super Bowl where the team I want to win doesn't? Fourth quarter certainly picked back up. Everybody sort of re-energized, and that was that. And yeah, I was a little bit on taxi duty. I took one person. I took Sky home, and then I went to the gym. I got to the gym at 4:20 this morning, and I did a workout. It was super difficult, but I'll come to that in a bit. So that's kind of like, the week. I like to give you guys what's been going on this week. TV. I haven't watched any films. I need to. The issue I've got at the moment is that I don't know how to go about watching films these days. I'm trying not to buy stuff. But that means I don't have the stuff I want to watch. I've got like a list of films that I kind of like to see. But if you don't buy them, I've been looking into like digital downloads, because obviously you can get stuff cheaper, or like renting stuff. Apparently like the stream quality is never going to be as good as a Blu-ray, and I'm a man that likes his quality. I have the TVs and the equipment to be able to watch the stuff. I want to be able to watch it in as best quality as I can. Bearing in mind the film that turned up today, it was a DVD. So yeah. However, films will come. I will watch some films. So, I will watch stuff. I will review stuff. I will let you know what I think and feel about those films. It's just at this point in time, that is not what's happening. I might watch a film today. I might watch a film after this. How's that? On the other hand, I've watched quite a bit of TV. Not TV, you know the deal. Last week I was talking to you and I said that I wasn't going to review something because I was still watching it. That thing was Mind of a Killer, is it? The Aaron Hernandez story. I'd watched 2 of the episodes at that point in time. There are 3 episodes. They're just over an hour apiece. Finally, on like Thursday of last week, watched the 3rd part. I will now review the Aaron Hernandez thing. Holy shitballs. Again, this week feels very heavy, like NFL heavy, and it's not even an NFL podcast. wow. If you like true crime stuff, I know that true crime's like a big market. There's a lot of true crime podcasts, a lot of true crime TV shows. But you're not an NFL fan, give this a whirl. There's a lot of like the true crime aspect. I've had the book recommended to me, which I think I'm going to buy, like Kindle buy, and read. It's fascinating. I don't want to spoil it. A lot of us were talking about it last night, and one person in our group hadn't seen it. And it was like, dude, we want to talk about it. There was 5 of us, one person hadn't seen it. It's like, come on, man. Let's talk about it, because it's bonkers. The way that it went, the fact that, when he started playing for the Patriots, there'd been stuff in his past already, Then he starts playing for the Patriots, and then, a season later, they arrest him, and it just starts to unravel. And it just keeps going, and there's like recordings of phone calls while he's in prison. There's copies of texts that are sent by people that, may or may not be alive at this point in time. It's amazing. It's baffling. I just kept saying, it's bonkers. It's like, the description I've used is, it's like a Russian doll of murder. Every time you take the lid off, inside is another doll, and that doll is another murder. I followed it at the time as much as I could. It's been fascinating to watch the series, the documentary, whatever, and just see how crazy insane it is. It does take a turn at the end. Anytime an NFL player does anything, it always comes back to the CTE. The head trauma stuff, because of the massive amount that they put their bodies through, the damage that they're doing to themselves on, a daily or weekly basis, that starts at like the age of 14 or younger, and they're taking these monstrous hits. Add to that a multitude of different drugs. Add to that any other drugs, like any recreational drugs. Add to that your upbringing. Add to that your personal life. NFL players are ticking time bombs, essentially. To find a well-adjusted NFL player is like finding a needle in a haystack. Obviously, there are some that are super nice, that appear super nice. JJ Watt seems to be branching out away from just being an NFL player. He has recently hosted Saturday Night Live. I think it was like last Saturday. Rob Gronkowski has retired from the NFL and seems to be doing a lot of stuff around a lot of other things, so on and so forth. They seem like nice guys, but at the same time, you don't know what the hell goes on behind closed doors. So, yeah, like I say, finding well-adjusted, Google Antonio Brown and just read the latest news article, I suppose. He is bonkers insane. Look up, try and find a video of Richard Sherman in the last couple of weeks. He's mental. There's a lot of mental issues, and where do they come from, sort of thing. The Aaron Hernandez documentary is truly, truly fascinating. It's about 3.5 hours, split into 3 parts. Take the time out of your life to go and watch it. It's amazing. It's truly baffling. It's just, I can't say enough about it. It's bonkers. You don't have to be an NFL fan. Obviously, it helps, but you don't have to be if you just like the true crime stuff, or you're just interested in that kind of, like a story of that sort of magnitude. Give it a watch. give it a whirl. Bonkers. So, as I've been saying recently, I'm watching Evangelion in the gym. That is still the case. Definitely getting to the back end now. The final angel has appeared. It's already, by this point in time, anybody who knows, or anybody, by this point in time, it's real dark. It's dark by this point. Obviously, like the behind the scenes plans are starting to become more apparent. It's super creepy. It's dark. It's no longer a giant robot show. It reflects the person that made it a lot more by this point in time. I started watching the latest series of Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I've always enjoyed It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I watched like three episodes or something, and then haven't watched any more since then. I was watching those on the my day. Well, it was when the baby was sleeping, and they're perfect. They're like 20-minute episodes. What I have seen is that the final episodes of BoJack Horseman are available to watch, and they've had amazing reviews. So I'm a bit like, I need to get that watched. Toot sweet. Think he might. Yeah. Well, I've already covered that in a different podcast. So I really want to get that watched. Yeah. Talk about some games. Let's talk about some games. I haven't played it, but in the process of installing some games and stuff, I saw that Days Gone had an update. And the update for Days Gone was 30 gig. I was like, what the hell is this? Sent a message to JK. It's like, why is the update for this game so big? He sent me a news article from the internet saying that, and brace yourself for this one, they've released this massive update to make the game smaller on your hard drive. So the update's 30 gig. I think the game's like 40 gig or something. I don't know how it works. I don't know the technology behind it, but apparently one of the things about this update is to make it so it's smaller on your hard drive. Dunno. But I haven't played that game. The games that I have played, Horizon Zero Dawn, a game that I've had for a long time, a game that I've played a multitude of times, but was on my list of games I never finished. Not for any reason other than I was always blown away by it, with the sort of game that it was. But I'd play it for so long, and then inevitably something else would come along. And weirdly, no matter how much I thought of it, I was always able to be lured away by other games. I never finished it. Having played and finished Vampire, I was like, do you know something? I'm going to try and finish Horizon Zero Dawn, and I'm going to really commit to finishing it. Which is what I did. I played it. I finished it. The last boss was a bitch to do. I had to like YouTube how to do it. And then between like a couple of YouTube videos and sort of my own way, I managed to find a way to do it. Finish the game. Unlock New Game Plus. Has an interesting New Game Plus mechanic where you can save your loadout at the end of your game, so that when you start the New Game Plus, you've got that sort of loadout. Which was just, I've never seen a game do that before. I did start it again. It's one of those that I will probably play the New Game Plus aspect a little further down the line. It would be nice to get some of the upgrades I didn't get, some of the weapons and costumes and things like that. Great game. To be able to finish it, I did have to focus heavily on the story missions. I feel that is one of those games that if you actually went off and did the side missions, and sort of followed that kind of path, that sort of completionist sort of path, that game would probably just keep going. You find people out in the middle of the wilds who need help, and there's like bandit camps, and trying to find all the campfires and all of that. Just a truly standout game. Yeah, I kind of wish I'd dedicated more time to it originally. And I didn't get it originally, I got it later. I think my copy is a second-hand copy, so that sort of gives you an idea of the timescale that when I picked it up. I recommend that to anybody. What else have I played? You guys remember what I recently said was my least favourite game in 2019? Not because it was a terrible game, because I couldn't finish it. That's right, the game Control. I had a real issue with this game. I loved it, and I loved it, and I loved it, and I loved it, and it just kept going from strength to strength to strength. It was fantastic. And then it turned on me. I reached a point which apparently is like 20 minutes from the end of the game, and I couldn't get past it, no matter what I tried. And I went away and I did side missions, and I upgraded, and I went back, and I still couldn't do it. I traded it in because I couldn't have it in the house because it annoyed me so much that a game that I had true love for turned on me right at the end. But it didn't feel like I was done. Luke sent me a thing one day saying, look, Tesco's are selling Control brand new for a lot less money than you can get it for second hand. I was like, oh man, that doesn't help. I went, I bought it, I reinstalled it, and I started playing it after I finished Horizon Zero Dawn. And my new review of Control is, I think I actually hate it more than I did originally. I felt really bad putting it into the category of my least favourite game of 2019 because of it was only that because of one reason, and that reason was because I couldn't finish it. It's a game that should have a difficulty level, and it doesn't, and it ruins it, and so on and so forth. And I really struggled to put that game into that category because it was just like the last little bit. Now I have no issues putting that game into that category. I hate that game more now than I did originally because I've bought it again. So far that game has cost me nearly 60 quid because I bought 2 copies. One that was like 40. In fact, it's cost me more than 60 quid. One was 40 and one was 28. That game has cost me a lot of money. And at this point in time, I still can't fucking do it. It's actually got worse because I was like, oh look, I've got this list of side missions that I never did. You do the side missions, you'll be able to upgrade. Because apparently the reason that I couldn't finish the game was because I hadn't upgraded enough, according to certain people. Oh, you haven't upgraded enough, you need to go and upgrade. Right, I'll go and upgrade. Okay, cool, you'll definitely be able to finish it then. Yeah, what happens when you can't do the side missions? Huh? I've got this side mission at the moment that I was doing. There's all these puzzles. I had to work my way through the puzzle, get to the point. All right, there's a boss. Okay, what's the boss? Oh, it's me, but an evil version of me. Cool. So that version of me has that's right, all the same powers and this massive life bar. It has infuriated me. Sam said to me, "Oh, did you do that section of the game?" do you know something? I realised that on my list of to do, that entire section of the game was there. It was like, oh man, there's like that's like a whole game in itself. And I got excited because I was like, oh, that means I'll be able to upgrade. I'll get points and I can upgrade. And before I got past that thought, Sam was like, I mean, it is, probably the hardest stuff in the game. I was like, fuck you, Sam. And fuck you, Control. You can't release a game like that and have no difficulty setting. That's not how it works, people. It is, as you might be able to guess, an issue. Because of this, I saw a trailer. And it wasn't a trailer, it was like a little advert, which is kind of like a trailer, where Peyton Manning, who, for anybody that doesn't know, is used to be the quarterback for the Denver Broncos, and his brother, Eli Manning, former New York Giants quarterback, have done an advert that they were doing it to promote the latest version of Madden. Madden does a thing every year where they predict the Super Bowl. They do that by collating a lot of data from people playing Madden. And there was this advert, it was like, oh, we need more people playing it, da, 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 da. Because of that, we're doing it for half price. It's like, okay. So I had a look into it, and you could buy it for half price digitally. And I was like, man, I don't want to do the digital stuff. If you haven't got a physical copy, essentially you can't trade it in if you need to. I generally trade the current Madden for the next one, is how I work it. So I was annoyed. I didn't want it digitally. So I had a look, see how much was second-hand. Still expensive second-hand. I looked on some of the places like, Amazon, place like that. How much is it new? Still expensive new, especially at this time of year, Super Bowl. So I'm like, and as I was doing all this on my phone, as I was coming out of my area on my phone where I've got all like shopping apps, I saw Argos. And I was like, oh man, every now and then they come good on a price for a game. I'll just have a little look. Went on to Argos, put in Madden, and it was ever so slightly more expensive than the digital version. And I was like, wow, that's actually a good price. Cheaper than getting it second hand. Certainly cheaper than loads of other places new. And I was like, you know what? I've already traded in last year's Madden, so I'm going to buy that. I went, I bought it, brought it home, I installed it. I've been playing it ever since. I think that's partly to do with avoiding having to play Control. It's Madden at the end of the day. It's fun. They've added just enough to make it different to the last one. I'm doing the kind of like the story mode where you make your own quarterback and you play as that quarterback, and you go from college, you get drafted, you do a combine, which I don't think was in the last one, might have been. You get drafted. My guy got drafted to the Denver Broncos, which at one point I thought I was going to get drafted to the Giants, which I was practically crying about. But I got drafted to the Broncos, which I was more than happy with. And I've played through all of the pre-season, and I'm 2 or 3 games into the regular season. It's enjoyable. I'm enjoying it. Like I say, I think I'm using it to avoid having to play Control. But it's certainly, Super Bowl time. When else would you want to be playing Madden? So yeah, that's games. But not all games, because a couple of things. One, I played a little bit of VR, but I recently made the decision that I was going to look into buying a graphics card for my PC so that I can do the Oculus Link, which means you can buy the Rift and Rift S games, which are PC VR games. Use a cable, connect your PC to your Oculus, and play PC games on your Oculus just using a cable. I decided it's probably about time to look into doing that. Big library of games, etc., etc. So, to do this, you need a cable that runs a USB-C cable. Apparently, graphics cards manufacturers went, I don't think we need to put a USB-C port on our graphics cards, so we're not going to bother. It's been the same. I don't know anything about this, so I always ask Ed. I always ask Sam. Sam's just like scratching his head, like, I don't understand why they've done this. It's become a major pain in the ass. But, the search continues. I have played and finished the game Red Matter. Red Matter, as I have previously mentioned, I know this because I was coding the podcast that I mentioned it on today, is a puzzle game where you are in a spaceship. You're in a spacesuit and you go to a base. It feels very, for want of a better way of putting it, feels very Russian. You're trying to uncover a mystery. You're looking for some documents to send back to the people that sent you to this base. All it is a puzzle game. Has a supernatural element. I mentioned all this the last time I spoke about it. I hadn't finished it. I have now finished it. The problem is I don't do well with puzzle games because I am not intelligent enough to play puzzle games. I can't work things out very well. Which means that for however long I was enjoying that game, the back end, there was puzzles in that game that if I hadn't have looked them up on the internet, mostly YouTube, I would have never done. I was just like, why isn't it giving you any information? I did finish it. It was, when something's like, it's hard to explain. It's like, it's annoying because you can't do it, but it's still kind of enjoyable, if that makes sense. I got proper pissed off towards the back end because it just made me feel stupid, and that's one of my least favourite pastimes. I played it, I finished it. I would thoroughly recommend it to people if you like a bit of a puzzle game. Sometimes it feels a bit like these escape rooms. It's a fantastic game. I'm just not smart enough to play stuff like that. I did play it and I did finish it. I did have a lot of help, mostly YouTube. So that's Red Matter. Enjoyable game. Check it out if you have the ability to do that. That's kind of that. Obviously, at the end I normally talk about going to the gym. I've talked about that a lot in this podcast. So I kind of feel like I don't need to. I went to the gym at 4:20 this morning and I left there gone 5 o'clock. I went and did a workout. Absolute monster. And I don't mean that I was doing a monster workout. I meant it was just really difficult. I don't know if it was because of having not slept or I wondered if the food that I'd eaten maybe had something to do with it. Man, I was dripping. And that was before I got on the treadmill. I got on the treadmill and it made me want to cry when it was like, you start out and then 30 seconds in, it was like, increasing speed. And I was like, oh, don't. And then, a bit later, it was like, increasing speed. I'm like, And then it said it again, and then it dropped down a bit, and then it went back up. And every time it increased the speed, I was like, I want to die. I'm keeping it up. I'm still going. Averaging about 5 times a week. Part of the reason I went at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning was because I didn't want to miss a day, which kind of feels a good sign. My weightlifting belt turned up. It's actually here. Listen. It's not there for the purpose of putting it on the podcast. It's there because I took it out of my bag yesterday because I didn't need it and I left it on the sofa. So yeah, my belt turned up. Little bit tight, if I'm honest. Was in 2 minds about sending it back, but I could get it on. And when I had another look, there wasn't a bigger size, so I was like, oh, I guess I'm kind of stuck with this guy. Working on the principle that if I can trim down, then it'll fit better, sort of thing. I received it last week. I have used it, and I was bloody glad I did, because the workout that I did was the exact same work. The exercise I did was the exact same exercise I'd done when I hurt my back last. And while I was doing that exercise, I could feel the same twinge trying to have a go. And I honestly think if I hadn't have had the belt on, it'd have gone. So I'm glad of that. Does mean I can start moving into a few other exercises that would require a belt and see what results we get from that. So, as you guys know, I'll keep you posted. Do feel free to contact me and let me know if you don't want to listen to this shit. I do mean the gym. I don't mean the rest of the podcast, because I can't imagine you'd be listening to it if you didn't want to. Yeah, that's the gym. I'm keeping it going. So that's that. That is the end of the podcast for this week. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for coming by. I'm trying to push certain aspects. This year is the year that I want to push a lot of stuff podcast wise. So if you're listening to this currently, do jump over to the YouTube channel and check us out on YouTube. There's videos. Even if there isn't a video, there's often pictures. So it is worth just jumping over and having a look. Maybe even subscribe, comment, share, stuff like that. If you leave a comment and it's a reasonably nice comment, I will happily engage with you. If you leave me an insulting comment, I will probably cry about it. So yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Do check out our various different platforms, like I say, YouTube, obviously iTunes, SoundCloud and all that, however you're listening to this now. But there's also Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, so if you have those things, go and like them or join them or subscribe to them or whatever those things do. I should probably know before encouraging you to do them. So yeah, there we go. Thank you very much, and I will catch you next time. So there we go then. What do you think to that? Another one done, another week in the bag, another podcast gone. YouTube watchers, make sure YouTube subscribers, like, share, comment, all the good stuff. Everybody else, jump over to Cookiecast.com, check us out over there, and send us some love. So there we go. Until next week, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then. Bye.